everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Inside the Zone with Mateo here on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. Welcome to day 2 of 30 teams in 30 days. It's our NBA offseason summer series, if you will, here. 30 teams, 30 days, where we take a look at each NBA team. We did the Wizards yesterday. It's now the Pacers today. We got a lot to get to, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy. And I am ready to break down the Indiana Pacers from recapping their season, but also previewing their offseason, their draft, free agency, and so much more here on the episode. If you haven't already, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell button on so you never miss any of my episodes, but also so you don't miss any of these episodes of this 30 teams in 30 days series. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now, let us get into it. Bam! 30 teams in 30 days. We're taking a deep dive through each NBA team during the month of June. And today, of course, is going to be the Indiana Pacers. And we go in order, by the way, for those who don't know, we go in the order of worst record to best record. So the Wizards, of course, were day 1. Now the Pacers, second worst record, the only other team under 20 wins. And we'll go in that order as we go through the month of June. You can pause the video. I'll also show this graphic at the end of the episode so you can make sure you know when your favorite NBA team is up for talking about, if you will. But now, let's take a look at it. Mateo's Show batting order. For those who do not know, Mateo's Show batting order, we use it across the podcast here on the channel, where it's basically just kind of a show roadmap to see, where we're going here. And it's the same. It's the same batting order for every single episode here in the month of June in this 30 teams in 30 days series. Number 1, how well did this team do last season? Number 2, who do I think they should draft? Number 3, who do I think they should keep from their own pile of free agents? And who should they target as well in free agency? And then we'll wrap it up with what I think their ceiling and their floor is with the moves that I suggest and without the moves I suggest. So without further ado, let's get into the Indiana Pacers. Number 1, the 2025-2026 season. We're going to recap the team's record, the players, and just my thoughts on their overall NBA season. And for the record here, it was a very disappointing season for the Indiana Pacers, but they all kind of knew that heading into the season without Tyrese Halliburton, who had torn his Achilles in the NBA Finals. And we know what happened there. And, he missed the entire 2026 season. Looks like he's going to be on track to return for the 27 season. But, with him missing that season, it led to a lot of losses. Again, 19-63 was their record. They were the 14th team, I believe, in the Eastern Conference, possibly 13. I don't remember. I think it is 14. It is 14, and then the Nets with 13, who, by the way, we'll be doing tomorrow in case you want to make sure you don't forget about that. The top scorer for the Indiana Pacers in the 2025-2026 season was, of course, now normally the second option on their team, Pascal Siakam. The top assister was Andrew Nembhard. The top rebounder was Pascal Siakam. And, of course, we'll talk about their draft pick because they're not going to have a draft pick because of a trade they made at the trade deadline. We'll talk about that in a second. But for now, let's take a deeper dive into some of these players' statistics here. So as mentioned already, Pascal Siakam led the team averaging 24 points a game. He also led the team in rebounds, averaging almost 7 rebounds a game, also including the steal leader. He was averaging 1.1 steals per game. He averaged 33 minutes about, being kind of that true number 1 star, even though he only played 62 games. Because, man, if there was a team deep enough to maybe win a little bit more, maybe get into the play-in tournament, it would be probably the Pacers. The Pacers have a very deep squad, as we will talk about in the coming minutes here. But really, almost everybody on their team dealt with major injuries, and that definitely contributed to them losing a lot more games than we all thought. But to finish, Siakam's stat line, he did average 4 assists. He was pretty efficient in the 62 games he played. I thought he took charge of that lead star on the team without Halliburton. But again, he missed 20 games. Those 20 games hurt for sure. But yeah, Pacers fans, I'm sorry. This just sucks. from, you went literally from the NBA Finals to one of the worst teams in the league. And also, to make things worse, now you don't even have your first round pick. So that sucks as well. Benedict Mathurin, who did end up getting traded, as we'll talk about in a second, played 28 games. He started 24 of them. In the early part of the season when he was there, he was averaging about 18 points. Andrew Nemhard, 57 games played. Again, he was your assist leader for the Indiana Pacers. He averaged about 17 points a game. He averaged 3 rebounds and 8 assists. He was pretty efficient, for that kind of that next major guard besides Tyrese Halliburton. I know Aaron Smith played there, but again, he battled injuries. I mean, you look at these games played. Maybe Jay Huff, the center, was the only player to play all 82 games. And by the way, then the next leader in games played, Jarris Walker, at 76 games. And that just tells you, how many key players miss the lineup for a big chunk of time. And that can definitely explain why they only won 19 games. But I think Aaron Smith played pretty well as well. He averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. He was shooting pretty well. His defense a little shaky, but I thought he still stepped up, in his role as well. Jarris Walker, we already touched on, 76 games played. He did end up averaging about 12 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. You got Obi Toppin playing only 24 games because, again, he dealt with so many injuries. It seemed like he was on the injury list for a good majority of the season. He did average 11.6 points in that game, so about 12 points a game, about 4 rebounds and 2 assists. That was Obi Toppin. And then Ivica Zubac, we will talk about in a second. He only played 5 games for the Pacers because he was injured. He got traded to the Pacers from the Clippers. That resulted in that first round pick being lost. And now the Clippers have that pick. We'll talk about that. We'll explain it a little bit when we transition to the draft segue. But he did average 12 points in those 5 games, which is pretty good. 7 rebounds and 2 assists. Micah Potter played 47 games for the Indiana Pacers. Started 7 of those games off the bench, about 10 points a game. Pretty efficient basketball for a center. 7 rebounds, 2 assists, pretty chill. Jay Huff, again, the only player who played all 82 games on this squad. He averaged about 9.5 points, so close to 10 points, 4 rebounds on the dot, and 2 assists. TJ McConnell, 56 games played. And again, it's like, as your backup point guard, that's all you played, right? 9 points a game, 5 assists, and 2 rebounds. And then the rest, you kind of know. You could keep going down here. Look how many players. Look how many players played games because of how injured this team was. It's absolutely insane. I feel bad. I feel bad, Pacer fans. Like, I don't know what you did to deserve this. I don't think you did anything, but it happened, and it is what it is. And hopefully you can bounce back. And luckily for you, I'm not worried for your team, so that will make it for a very interesting discussion in the next couple of minutes. But I guess we can talk about the Zubac trade here. That again sent Mathurin and a couple other players, I think, as well as this pick, the Pacers' first round pick for this upcoming year, to the Clippers. However, the pick was top 4 protected. So, the Pacers knew they were going to be bad, right? At the deadline, they were selling. They were rebuilding, not rebuilding. They were just selling. Some could say they were tanking on purpose. But they thought, okay, we're going to get a top 4 pick, but we'll throw in a top 4 protected, and then if it lands between picks 5, 6, 7, or 8, then Clippers you can have it. But then even if it's at 9, 10, 11, then we can have it, right? It was a pretty safe bet. It was a little risky if you were to ask me at that time. I did think for Zubac that was a little risky. However, it is what it is. The draft lottery happened, and the Pacers do end up losing their first round pick because it ends up at pick 5. So the Clippers will take the 5th overall pick. So they won't even have a draft pick this year. As you can see, bam, the Clippers have the 5th overall pick. It's absolutely insane. So we don't even have to go through the mock draft for this because unless they make a shocking trade to trade, into this draft, they're not going to have a draft selection. They even lost this second round pick to Memphis. Memphis has that pick. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You mess out on a very loaded, very talented draft class. However, it is what it is. You get Zubac, and I hope you're happy because that's who you got for the time being. So yeah, again, they have no draft picks. No draft picks. Absolutely insane. So yeah, we can even really skip on this next section. We don't have to talk much about the draft section because they don't got a draft pick. We don't have to simulate a mock draft because we just don't have a draft pick today for the Indiana Pacers, which I think is very interesting. Basically then in this sense, you went through a terrible season for your fan base for absolutely nothing. You didn't even get rewarded with a pick. It was, thinking about unless Zubac absolutely is a game changer this season, I don't think that trade was worth it. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Zubac, and I'll expand some thoughts on Zubac throughout the episode. So now we'll go to the start of free agency, as this episode is kind of moving a little quicker than I anticipated, just because, you take a full section out because of the draft. There's less time to talk. But the start of free agency here, what we kind of do, we do two halves of free agency on these episodes in 30 teams in 30 days. Basically, the first half, as you can probably see if you're watching on YouTube, there's a subheading saying the team's first part of free agency where they decide who they should keep and who they will let walk. And I'm going to give you a list. Bam, there are their own free agents. They have 4 players that are a free agent. There's a club option for Micah Potter, but then a bunch of other restricted two-way free agents. Really, yes, you could sign them. Yes, you could sign them for very cheap. Probably they'll do that with some of these players, but I could see a lot of these players also getting let go. I think Micah Potter, again, as we said, had a pretty successful season. I think they'll probably bring him back to be that maybe third string center, but behind Zubac, behind Jay Huff, maybe behind another person, as we'll talk about in a second. But, Jalen Slauson, Talion Peter, Ethan Thompson, these younger guys, two-way contracts. Yeah, probably they re-sign them. But, again, they play in the G League most likely. So, it's not – there are no big names hitting the free agent market, which, again, I thought was very interesting for the Pacers. But now I guess we can get to probably the bigger spot. This is the part we're going to talk about for the remaining part of the episode, most likely, because the second half of free agency. And I'm going to try to predict who the team should pursue, who they will sign, and, whether that will be by the open market or by trade. So for those who do not know, this is the first episode you're watching, if you don't really have an idea of who these free agents are, I'm always going to open this up with just a quick little recap of what's going on, who's a restricted free agent, an unrestricted free agent. LeBron James, CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Kristaps Porzingis, Tobias Harris, John Collins, Anthony Simons, Nikola Vucevic, Harrison Barnes, Norman Powell, Colin Sexton, Nurkic, Collins again, Hachimura, Horder, right? All these players are going to be unrestricted free agents, meaning they can sign anywhere. There are a couple big name restricted free agents with like player options. That's like Zach LaVine, Trae Young, James Harden, club options on Isaiah Hartenstein and Jonathan Kuminga. There's some player options within there. Most likely, I think these bigger names, the teams are going to pick up on the club or player options, and the players will accept their player options. Like Andrew Wiggins, he's not going to decline his $30 million player option at 32 at 31 years old, almost 32 years old. He's not going to decline that because he could then risk, only getting paid $5 million, $10 million on a veteran league minimum or something like that. He's obviously going to take that. Like Zach LaVine, he's going to take his $49 million player option. Trae Young probably going to do the same thing. James Harden most likely will do the same thing unless, of course, he just doesn't want to be in Cleveland, which I honestly don't know what might happen over there in Cleveland, which we'll talk about in the coming days whenever we get to Cleveland. So again, I like to look at a lot of the unrestricted free agents just because those are the people that are going to be most likely testing the open market. Not guaranteed that they're going to re-sign with their team. Like, who knows what LeBron's going to do? Who knows what McCollum's going to do? And so that just makes it very interesting. So that's your kind of introduction to the free agency class. But now, specifically for the Indiana Pacers, who do I think they will pursue? Well, this team is pretty set. It's pretty set. This is, as I was looking through these rosters, planning for this episode a little bit, I was like, this team legit has enough to go back to the NBA Finals. As long as they have a healthy team, this team is one of the deepest teams, some could argue, especially in a very weak Eastern Conference, in my opinion. Here are my top targets. It's not even specific players like I did with the Wizards. I think they could use a backup center, and I think they could definitely use a veteran combo guard to come off the bench, play maybe 15-ish minutes, get some perimeter scoring, consistent perimeter scoring. As one article I read said they need consistent perimeter scoring. They have some perimeter scoring, but it's maybe not as consistent. I think a veteran combo guard could be perfect. So, heading into the free agent class, the most likely the unrestricted free agents. And by the way, this team does have some flexibility. They're below the first apron, which is very, very good for them. Very respectable, especially with a very talented roster. But when we're talking, I feel like let's look at those options for a combo guard type of player. I mean, here are the guards at free agency, the unrestricted guards. You take a look. I mean, I think somebody like a McCollum, Simons, Powell, Sexton, maybe even a Horder and Kobe White, those might be a little too expensive. But I scroll down here. I think Iota Sumo was probably going to be even too expensive. I scroll down. I see somebody like a Tim Hardaway Jr. I see a guy like maybe a Luke Kennard. I maybe even see a guy like Jet Howard, who maybe he's not a veteran, but he's a younger guy that maybe you pay him just a little bit more. He was previously making only about $6 million. Maybe you raise it to maybe $10 million. They can afford that. Somebody like that, but maybe not Jet Howard as much as a Luke Kennard or a Tim Hardaway Jr., maybe even a Jordan Clarkson. That could be interesting. I do think he probably will end up with the Knicks, unless, of course, they move. He'll end up back with the Knicks, of course, unless he's included in a Giannis trade. But maybe even a Gary Payton the second, and we can go over here to Fanspo, where it's the trade machine, but also we can go to free agency. As you can see, they have salary cap money. Like a Tim Hardaway Jr. I feel like that could just be almost the perfect thing. A 1 year. What I'm guessing here is a 1 year veteran league minimum. Depending on the veteran, depending on how long he has played in the NBA, it definitely depends what his league minimum is, just because it's different depending on how long you've played. But for Tim Hardaway specifically, it would be about 3.6 million. So, a 1 year, I'm just gonna, like that sounds pretty much what it would be. But I might even raise it. I might even raise it just a little bit here. We might go like 4.2 or something, right? And they can still afford this. Add that. They have even more space here. And that just gives them that combo guard off the bench, right? But then I also mentioned a center. And I feel like Nikola Vucevic is the perfect deal. I think if the Indiana Pacers want to do some stuff in free agency, they don't have enough money. They don't have enough money to go out and sign a bunch of players to big deals, unless, of course, they trade Pascal Siakam, which might not be out of the question. We'll talk about that in a second. I think, again, another league minimum deal or veteran league minimum deal for veterans. Veterans is what they're missing. They're a young team, whether you think it or not. They're pretty young. So you add Vucevic, you add Hardaway Jr., and I think that's almost all you need. I don't know how realistic this is. I don't. Okay? I don't know. But I think it could be a very interesting piece. And, just to make this, to see if it's possible, I'm going to go here. I'm just going to go with the Bulls. I know the Bulls have a lot of second round picks, right? They have a lot of second round picks. We're just going to add a second round pick here. They're going to go to the Pacers. I'm just going to complete a random trade. By the way, I know they say this pick is here. This pick is not supposed to be here. It's just not fully updated. We'll just do this. We'll have them swap it, try a trade. It's going to be accepted. Just to see I want to see the cap signing. So The only thing here, Indiana would have to waive a player, but again, there's a bunch of free agents. I always add a pick trade just so I can see the financial breakdown to make sure everything's good. This team will be over the cap after these moves, but they're still under the second apron, which is all that matters here. So again, something like this could work by adding those players. Obviously, we can just get rid of that. Bam. And you can definitely sign these free agents, and it makes sense. I think somebody's players like this on minimum deals, 1-year contracts. Maybe you even do a 2-year deal on for some of these players. And I think that's what the Indiana Pacers are missing: a backup center and a veteran, a veteran combo guard could definitely, could definitely help this team grow a little deeper, grow a little bit more mature, and maybe be able to take that next spot. Especially, guys, the Eastern Conference right now is pretty weak. They have a lot of young, intriguing teams like Charlotte, Orlando. I would even say Detroit, right? They're young, but they're very, very intriguing. And I know Detroit had a amazing year. But again, they're still young and they're still missing some key spots. And I think the team that ends up with the most veterans, the most experience, is going to succeed in a weaker Eastern Conference. So I think those solutions could definitely help the Indiana Pacers a whole lot. Now, it wouldn't be a Mateo episode. It wouldn't be an episode here on the channel if there wasn't some crazy trades. Y'all know how much I like these crazy trades. So of course, we're going to throw out some trade offers that could happen. And one thing that's intrigued me, I don't know how many people are actually talking about this, sending Pascal Siakam back to Toronto where he won an NBA title. He has a monster contract. Toronto has a lot of monster contracts as well. Now, I don't know how realistically it would be like a Scotty Barnes. I don't think that's as realistic. I could see, though, a Brandon Ingram getting sent over to the Pacers for Pascal Siakam. Okay, I could see it. I could entertain with this. But again, Pascal Siakam's contract is too massive. I don't think it would just be a 1-for-1 trade. I think the Pacers could probably get something else in return. Now, could it be a Grady Dick? Possibly. I'm thinking more, so you get a sizable piece in Brandon Ingram, another possible a co-star for Tyrese Halliburton. But the problem is here, I think Aaron Smith actually could end up there. I feel like you could end up blowing this team up just a little bit and changing its identity. You'd end up getting Colin Murray-Boyles in return as well. This should work, I believe, financially. Raptors can only take $44 million. Oh, it has to be. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, my bad. I think something though where you get a little younger. Now I know Siakam has been great, but he's 32 years old. He's had a very interesting health history. I think something along these terms. Now, I don't know how we would do it financially, and now this definitely makes it complicated. Say we go through this trade. It's a 1-for-1 trade. It would fail, of course. The Raptors can only take 38 cut $7 million because it's a $7 million difference, right? So we would have to find the right contract that would even it out, right? So I'm guessing it would be a bigger contract going out and a little contract going in, right? Like a Jarris Walker possibly going there for a bigger, but something like this where you send Siakam back to Toronto. I think Toronto is definitely missing a veteran piece. And I'm not trying to make this a Toronto episode, but Toronto, a big reason, in my opinion, why they didn't have as much success as they should have maybe had in the postseason this year was that they didn't have that veteran scorer, that veteran leader. And you can say, oh, well, Brandon Ingram's a veteran leader. I don't know, bro. Siakam, he's got a couple more years on him. He's got experience. He has a ring to prove it. Ending up back in Toronto, I think that could be an interesting story. But of course, these Giannis trades, they're going to be almost in every single episode. How would a Giannis trade happen? Like, these two teams hate each other. Like, I think just for those reasons, I think it doesn't happen. This would work financially. Okay, this would work financially straight up. Siakam for Antetokounmpo. Why would the Bucks, though, you say, do this trade when you're getting, somebody older than Giannis, when you're trying to be in a rebuild? Well, of course, that's why I think it doesn't make sense. But I think then you could end up including maybe an Aaron Nesmith. The contract's still in line. And I also think you could end up, throwing, obviously, you need a couple picks. Ignore this 26 pick. They can trade away this 27 pick. They can trade away the 2031 pick and the 2033 pick or 32 pick, whatever. You could do something like this, like 3 firsts, Nesmith and Siakam is definitely an intriguing trade. Yeah. It's just because of the draft pick rule. That's why it doesn't go through. But contract-wise, it goes through. Like, imagine a trade like this. No one's really talking about the Pacers going out and getting the Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, I don't think it's realistic, but I think, why not? Let's give you Pacer fans something to think about. Siakam has such a big contract that you could definitely try to work some things out in your favor by getting somebody like this. But that's just me having fun with this. Obviously, I have no idea if this is actually going to happen or not, and I'm leaning towards most likely it doesn't happen. But I guess here, let's look up here before we end up the episode. Before we end the episode, Pascal Siakam trades. Let's see if there are any trade rumors. I bet somebody has thrown out some trade rumors here. This is from 6 days ago. Yeah, no, we don't want that. I guess we can just go here. Here, we can just go. Here, let's get rid of this. And I don't know if anybody's even putting him into a trade yet. No one's really putting him into a trade here. Let's just put it here on Fanspo. Pascal Siakam. Let's see if there's any trades with him here. So, of course, yeah, he was with the Raptors for a while, right? It hasn't been too much. But, again, this contract is absolutely insane. It is absolutely insane. Let's see if there are any trades relating Pascal Siakam here. I think I might just have to search them. Oh, perfect. Players involved. That's exactly what we know. Perfect. All right, that's what we'll do, and then we'll end it. See if there's any recent trades with Pascal Siakam that have worked 3 months ago. Really? That's the 2 months ago. Can we do latest? New trades. People love this. Dude, Fanspo, get on Fanspo. It's an amazing trade. Who says no? Who says no? Who says no to this? All right, let's see. I'll see. De'Aaron Fox goes to the... Oh! Okay. This is an interesting... It matches up perfectly. That's crazy, too. The Spurs get Pascal Siakam. Another big to pair up with Wemby. They're going to lose probably Barnes in free agency, Champagnie in free agency. They don't need more guards because they have all these guards in Vassell, Castle, and Harper. You pair up De'Aaron Fox with Tyrese Halliburton. Could be interesting. Okay. See, this is why we do this. This is why we put him. Why we scroll. Him going to Cleveland. I don't like that. Mobley. Yeah, I don't think that happens. Anthony Davis. Yeah, okay. I don't think Anthony Davis goes. That just doesn't make sense. Jaylen Brown. Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek here. You're probably crazy. Yeah, you probably are crazy. But 3 first-round picks. Obi Toppin and Siakam for Jaylen Brown. I don't hate it. I legit don't hate it. Okay? I don't hate it at all. It's just I think the Celtics would probably want a little bit more for Jaylen Brown. And then, of course, here's the Giannis trade. Oh, so this one's McConnell and 2 firsts for Siakam. Yeah, I think this one's not as realistic just because of those lottery predicted. I don't think that stands, but yeah, very interesting. All right, get yourselves on Fanspo, fanspo.com. You don't even have to sign up. You can just work around it for free. You just can't post if you don't have an account, which that's fine too. But feel free. You can tag me. You can tag me for sure. I believe it's just at Inside the Zone with Mateo in your post, and maybe I'll comment on them. I probably will because I love Fanspo. But that's going to do it most likely here. Oh, wait, we got one more. We got one more thing. The ceiling, right? The ceiling. The ceiling and the floor. That's right. We got it. I'm locked in. I'm sorry, guys. I was rambling a little bit. I enjoy Fanspo, but all right. Current ceiling and floor. I'm going to have two things here. If you watched the Wizards episode, you already know what's going on. But there's going to be two things. There's going to be if the team makes the moves that I suggest, which for in this case is getting a guy like Vucevic and Tim Hardaway Jr., and if the team stays relatively the same. And it's both their ceilings, right? Their ceiling. Without the moves I suggested, I still think they're a playoff caliber team. With the moves I suggest, however, I think that definitely just because they are in a weaker conference, they can stay healthy. They make some of these moves. Maybe it's just one of those moves. Maybe they just grab Tim Hardaway Jr. Maybe they just grab Vucevic. I think they automatically, people are already calling them a contender. People are already calling them a contender, which is crazy because we don't even know how well Halliburton's going to play coming off the injury. But I still think they're going to be a contender no matter what if they make some of these moves. I think they're going to make a move. I think we're going to see at least one move from the Pacers. Let me know what move you think it's going to be. And let me know what you think about this episode. Any of my takes. Did any of my takes alarm you? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button and subscribe button. Turn the notification bell button on so you never miss any episodes. Coming up tomorrow, we got another team for 30 teams in 30 days. That's going to be June 3rd, I believe. Let's go. But by the way, after June, our normal Tuesday and Thursday episodes will resume back. We might add maybe 3 episodes a week for the rest of summer. And then once I'm back in school, college, we'll go back to probably 2 days a week. But I try to post almost daily shorts. Those should be coming out almost daily here on the channel. And try to live stream as well here and there. Kingdom Competitors, you know what that is. Appreciate you guys for watching, though. Hit that like button and subscribe button. Turn the notification bell button on so you never miss any of these episodes, including tomorrow's episode, which will be on the Brooklyn Nets as we start the 20-win teams for 30 teams in 30 days. Brooklyn Nets going to be an interesting episode for sure. They got a pick. They got a pick for sure in the draft. That, some are mad about because it fell. They might not be getting a Cam Boozer unless, of course, I have them trade up, which that's always interesting as well. But stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Hope you return on the channel. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to keep God first because he's the most important thing in your lives. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.